The gravel in Arthur's driveway crunched under the tires of a white golf cart, a sound that had become the unofficial herald of a neighborhood headache. In the meticulously curated community of Willow Creek, Gary was the self-appointed enforcer of aesthetic purity. As the HOA president, Gary didn't see a yard. He saw a series of potential violations. And Arthur's side lot B, a rolling quarter-acre of what Arthur called natural topography and Gary called a wasteland, was currently at the top of the hit list. The letter arrived the next day. It was printed on heavy, cream-colored bond paper, dripping with the kind of corporate politeness that felt like a slap in the face. It claimed that side lot B remained unused and unproductive, a blight on the uniform suburban character of the street. The board gave him 30 days to install grade A sod and a subterranean irrigation system, or they would do it for him and send a bill that would make his eyes water. Arthur, a man who had spent 40 years as a civil engineer and the last 5 mourning his late wife, Clara, sat at his kitchen table and stared at that patch of earth. Clara had loved that land. She had always wanted to do something wild with it, something that didn't involve the chemical-soaked, neon green perfection of their neighbors' lawns. Unused, Arthur whispered to the empty room. The word tasted like ash. He decided then that he would show them exactly how used a piece of land could be. Arthur didn't yell and he didn't post a rant on Nextdoor. Instead, he went to his basement and pulled out a dusty 3-ring binder. The original Willow Creek covenants, conditions, and restrictions from 1988. Most people never read the fine print, but Arthur was a man of the fine print. He spent 3 days fueled by black coffee and a quiet, burning spite, cross-referencing the HOA bylaws with state agricultural statutes and the Federal Clean Water Act. He found his golden ticket buried on page 142, a grandfathered provision for educational agricultural endeavors and productive heritage use. The transformation began on a Tuesday. The neighbors expected a lawn crew and rolls of grass. Instead, they got a fleet of trucks delivering 40 tons of river rock, specialized soil, and a small forest of what looked like oversized weeds. Gary zoomed by on his golf cart every afternoon, clipboard in hand, looking like a man watching a slow-motion train wreck. He'd shout warnings about property values and corrective action, but Arthur just kept digging. He didn't plant grass. He planted milkweed, purple coneflower, wild bergamot, and blue false indigo. He installed a winding, dry creek bed made of local slate that was secretly a sophisticated drainage system designed to catch runoff from the street. But the piece de resistance was the lot's new occupants. At the very back, screened by a beautiful trellis of climbing roses, Arthur installed 4 high-end, cedarwood beehives. He then registered the entire quarter-acre as a state-certified honeybee sanctuary and a monarch way station. When the 30-day deadline arrived, the confrontation was inevitable. Gary didn't just send a letter. He brought the entire HOA board. They marched up Arthur's driveway like an invading army, ready to hand over a bill for thousands of dollars in remedial landscaping. Gary puffed out his chest and told Arthur it was over, that the jungle he had created was inconsistent with the neighborhood's character. Arthur stepped onto his porch, holding a tray of small glass jars and a stack of legal certifications. He looked more relaxed than he had in years. He introduced a young woman standing behind him, a field representative from the State Department of Agriculture. As Gary's face turned an alarming shade of magenta, she explained that Arthur had qualified for the Green Space Protection Act. Under state law, the land was now classified as productive agricultural research space. If the HOA attempted to mow or spray it, they would be in violation of federal protections regarding endangered pollinators. Arthur added the finishing blow by pointing to the educational easement clause in their own bylaws. He informed the board that the local middle school's science club would be arriving for weekly workshops. The unused land was now a legally untouchable outdoor classroom. To soften the blow, or perhaps to twist the knife just a little, Arthur handed the board treasurer a jar of deep, amber-colored wildflower honey. The treasurer tasted it, looked at the vibrant, buzzing meadow, and admitted it was the best thing he'd ever eaten. The shift in the neighborhood was gradual but profound. The wasteland became a destination. Parents started bringing their children to watch the monarchs emerge from their chrysalises. A small, elegant little free library appeared at the edge of the lot, filled with books on conservation. Even the local real estate market responded. A nearby house sold for a record price because the buyers wanted to be near the Willow Creek Nature Preserve. Arthur had turned a patch of dirt into a community asset, making it impossible for the enforcers to destroy it without looking like the villains of their own story. The true victory, however, happened on a quiet Tuesday evening in late August. Arthur was sitting on a stone bench, watching the sunset filter through the wings of 1,000 insects. Gary's golf cart pulled up, but the clipboard was nowhere to be seen. Gary looked tired, the weight of his self-imposed authority finally seeming to catch up with him. He sat down next to Arthur and admitted his wife loved the honey, that it was the only thing that helped her sleep. Arthur didn't gloat. He didn't bring up the fines or the threats. He just handed Gary a fresh jar and told him to sit a while, explaining that the bees were just settling in for the night and it was the best time to watch. For the first time in a decade, the two men sat in silence, not as a ruler and a rebel, but as neighbors. Arthur had used his land to grow more than just flowers and honey. He had grown a community that was finally too vibrant to ignore.